opportunity. Does recommend opportunities to reintroduce or introduce them into the village. And so I'm just here to answer any questions you have and seek direction on whether or not you want to recommend that the board consider them, gather more public information, draft possible regulations and or program requirements with either of the systems. And so, yeah, I'm here to answer any questions or take any comments.
Okay. Why don't we start with committee members?
Yeah, I'm interested in seeing if we can reestablish Bubbler and also allow scooters here. I like the idea of giving people more options to get around. I used to use Bubbler all the time when I worked downtown, take it to meetings and stuff like that. And, I would use the ones in Shore Road occasionally, but even though I have my own bike, I find it convenient to have that option available. And I think we should make it easier for people that might want to use it to come here, or people that live here want to go somewhere. And then same thing with the scooters. I think, we got to be mindful of safety, but also put it in the context of there's a lot of cars that drive through Shorewood, and that brings its own safety issues as well. So I'm in favor of, finding ways to bring both scooters and bikes to Shorewood.
I echo what Trustee McGovern said. Little weary on the annual fee for Bubbler. I'd love to look a little bit more into that and how we
have Bubbler here every year, nor am I interested in paying the fee to upkeep the stations every year. I thought it was a good program when we weren't paying for it. I don't think it's an appropriate program to be investing in from a village perspective. Certainly if there's something that the bid wants to do or individuals, that's a different story, or the fund apps as a village entity. I don't see the value in it. That's why I'm the President McKay, Trustee Stokebrand.
just are there other companies and with other models outside of Bubbler, and are there any companies that offer e-bikes that you know of?
There are, but we would be making our own system then, and connecting to Milwaukee system, I think, is the one that makes the most sense with respect to being able to, take a bike in and out of Shorewood to dock in Milwaukee. And so I think with both bike share and e-scooters, we're going to really be reliant on whatever Milwaukee contracts with. Both Wauwatosa and West Dallas were approached by Lime because Lime operates in the city. Wauwatosa and West Dallas did not do their own RFPs. It happened. It came to them because Lime was interested in expanding their network. I don't see our municipality being large enough to, develop its own system without joining with whatever Milwaukee has currently
Great point.
contracted.
Bubbler has e-bikes.
Oh, do they have e-bikes?
Oh, yes. Sorry. Bubbler does have e-bike.
I mean, I think that can be sort of a game changer, you know, with that model. I think that would be something I'd be very interested in exploring.
President McKay, Trustee Coker.
Thank you so much for gathering all of this. It's interesting to learn. Are the electric bubblers in Milwaukee?
Yes. Yep. I've taken them to brewer
Okay.
games and things of that nature. Yeah.
I just, we kept the pads in, the concrete pads, and it seemed to me where those bubbler bikes were, wasn't there an electrical hookup too? There's a power
Yes.
component.
Yep.
I know it's not huge, but it's just another point of, like, we are kind of set up. It'd be great to have this. I'm not crazy about, I think some of the issues that I used to have with scooters littering sidewalks been resolved a little bit because I think the technology has improved so that the governor comes on if it's not parked where it's supposed to be, a huge fine. And so people learned the hard way, you better put your supposed to be. But I can't see us subsidizing at this kind of a price level. You know, I just keep the door open to it, but right now I can't see pursuing it with this kind of a fee with the costs we're currently facing, infrastructure, debt, and operationally to come up with this. You know, I mean, I just have to hope that, you know, licensing, you know, naming rights, you know, I mean, I think that's how Citibank got started. The bikes got started in New York, Citibank, but their name. And so I guess that's what I would hope for, you know, as you mentioned, maybe the bid, or a company decides they want to reach out, get their name out there, and they decide to buy the naming right bikes or something. Not expensive.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
President McKay.
Just quickly, I think I'm really happy to be part of a board that is looking at so many innovative new ideas. And I will say, though, as we get deeper into our three major policy initiatives, the public works site, lead service lateral replacement, and major road reconstruction, sewer completion, I'm really of the mindset of, you know, I like the new ideas. I like gathering the information, but deferring them for a year and seeing where we are when we get past these huge decisions and implementations that we need to do. So I think that's most likely going to be my position moving forward.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any additional questions, comments, committee members? Comments, questions from anyone in the audience? Anyone online? Sandy? Mr. Pendleton?
Thank you, Chairman Kudo. Sandy Pendleton, 3529 North Frederick Avenue. Overall, I like the idea of shared mobility services and micro mobility. One more e-scooter or one more e-bike, that's one less car on our roads. That's wearing down our roads and contributing to bad air in Shorewood. So I like to see that. I'll address e-scooters first. I do think that some of the pedestrian safety issues, like Trustee Stokran said, have been resolved through better technology. I don't see them being operated on the sidewalks in Milwaukee. If we were to do this, I do think we need to make it clear to the public that we're doing this on a limited or trial basis for a year or two, not committing to this forever. Bubbler bikes, I'm not a spokesperson for Bubbler. I'm a member of Bubbler. I have a membership. I like Bubbler bikes. I wish there was someone here, Bruce Keys or Linda, who's the executive director, who was here to speak to that. A couple things. One, you don't have to have electricity hookups anymore to have a Bubbler bike station. Their new stations are solar powered, just like they are in New York City and other places. Also, they've gone from the very large 6 dock stations to 4 dock stations. So they're lower cost, they take up less of a footprint, and you can approach an individual business and say, hey, wouldn't you like to have a 4 dock station in front of your business? And a lot of businesses might answer yes to that. From a long-term investment perspective, this is not a bad move even though there's cost, there's considerable cost to going with this type of bike share program, because both e-scooters and this type of bubbler bikes, they bring young people from the east side, from downtown, from the other side of the river, from UWM in particular, and they see what a wonderful place Shorewood is. They visit the restaurants, they visit the bars, they go to the stores. This is a really low cost, easy way for them to get to Shorewood, often using the Oak Leaf Trail. So if we can do this, we need to both think about short-term cost and long-term benefits. Those UWM computer students who are getting on a scooter now might be coming and saying, boy, I really want to stay in the Milwaukee area and live in Shorewood. And that will pay off long-term to us. But there are downsides to it, and I'm not going to shy away from those. I should mention UWM students used to be, they could get an annual membership for like $8. I think it's more now, but it's really low cost. So a high percentage of UWM students have bubbler memberships. I worry that a service like Uber, which owns some of these, I can't remember if it's Lime or Bird, is just going to come in with a new technology and crush bubbler. That they're going to come in with a dockless e-bike system, very low cost electric bike. They kind of have these I don't know what you even call them. You sit on them, and they're not a scooter. They're not a bike. They don't have pedals, but you sit on them, and I hate them. They look awful to me, but maybe that's what the kids like. And maybe that's the wave of the future. Share mobility bike services in other communities have gone bankrupt. I have no idea if bubbler is in that classification. But if we're looking at a $200,000 capital investment, and I hope we're not, and if we're looking at $20,000 in the range of $20,000 per year for operating costs, we need to pause before we use taxpayer dollars to make that capital investment. Now, remember, I'm the person who says, well, a traffic light can cost $150,000. So, let's not blow $200,000 out of proportion, but it's $200,000. So we should be very sure that we either are confident that bubbler is going to be around, or a donor steps forward, or we find the business that wants to have all the docking stations in Shorewood, promoting their business and taking on that risk and that cost. So thank you for your consideration of my thoughts on those issues.
Thank you. Any comments online? Feel free to unmute yourself. Being none. Community members, what do we want to do? What are we thinking? I mean, this is generally agendaed for discussion. We don't have to have a motion. But
yeah, I mean, I personally would like to move forward with e-scooters. I think that makes the most sense, and it sees some revenue kind of generated for the village. There's a lot of what Sandy's saying that makes sense for bubbler, and I wish it's something that we could sort of talk to our business community about, for them to, look into, and maybe it is business owners are taking on the responsibility. It's going to help it's going to help traffic. It's going to help, maybe some visibility for their business. So maybe it's something that we take back to the business community. But right now, I really feel like the e-scooters are probably a very easy thing to move forward with here.
okay. Trustee McGovern.
I mean, I'd like to move forward with both, but I understand the need to sort of prioritize. We got a lot on our plate. So.
I am of the opinion that I agree with Trustee Ursing to move forward. I mean, the capital costs on bubble where we are. I would have, but I just have a hard time. And maybe the costs come down from a 6 station to a 4 station. Maybe there are some cost differences. Maybe upkeep isn't, quite that high, but I think scooters are a real easy way. And it's something, frankly, if we move quickly enough, perhaps we could have for this. So, That's where I am. Bart, I mean, you don't need a full do you want a motion? Do you feel like you need one, or do you feel like?
I don't need a
direction?
motion. I would suggest that I've heard direction to move forward with, developing the parameters for a pilot program, and possible regulations related to e-scooters. As I mentioned, the bike ped plan actually recommends doing that through the Parks and Public Spaces Committee. So if you'd like, I could work with them to provide a recommendation from them on a draft program, or I could come back directly to you with that program and regulations. I think that's the necessary next step. I guess it's a question of who you want me to take that to and whether or not you want additional public input with that.
I mean, part of me says that we've had public input because that's where it started.
Yep.
And so now we can take it and run with it. Certainly, when you come back to us with the recommendations, that will be in committee format, take input from the public for making any decisions. But I don't want the committee to feel like Mike and Ped to feel like they're taking a step forward and we're kicking it back to keep it moving.
Yep.
I would prefer it coming back to us.
Yeah, I agree with spring right around the corner. It'd be nice to see this thing, get implemented this spring, summer.
Okay, that's the direction I need. I can always bring back, bike share or bubbler at a future, time if and when we find it available. But I think this is good direction to proceed.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Village Manager Ewald is the next one yours.
Actually, I believe that Committee Chair Aaron Polbach is here, as well as Alan Purinton. Thank you, sorry. The proposal that came forth was from the committee chair in consultation with Alan. So we have a microphone up there if you'd like to speak to the program applied for.
Yep, we'll just need your full name and address.
Yes, I'm Erin Povak, and I'm at 2101 East Beverly Road. So I can provide a brief background. I know you've been supplied with some information, but we have a proposal to the Shorewood Foundation to run a pilot program. It's essentially a rebate program to incentivize people who live in the village of Shorewood to retire their gas-powered leaf blowers in favor of purchasing an electric-powered leaf blower. So the funds that we've requested will supply people that can prove residency and proof of purchase of an electric leaf blower with a certain specified amount of money. We're thinking approximately $100 at this point, just to give people that incentive to get them out the door and take the step.
Sorry, Manager Ewald, can you walk us through, there were some different options for of this. Can you walk us?
When meeting with Chair Polbach last year, she had liked the idea. I had relayed to her that it wasn't within our bandwidth administratively to deliver the program. But voiced to her that I wanted to support it, suggesting that perhaps we'd be the conduit of being provided the application, and then that through our website could then be immediately directed to, I believe at this point it was Alan, for administration of that project. That was also in line with audit guidance that we received after a cash handling review of our organization earlier on in 2020 or 2021. So it was consistent with that. In those cases, Ellen would be making the distributions and the committee would be deciding on who gets reimbursed and when, based upon committee approval. Following that time, and just right before actually we released the memo, I did receive an email from the foundation and they were asking us to administer the program. And so we were in the midst of putting out a packet. So I just left a footnote within the scope of this memo, noting that they had placed that request. And so then just provided that additional context for the board, just about why we responded the way that we did and how we'd like to support it, unless the board directs us to go in conflict with that audit guidance. I'm happy to do whatever you'd like.
Okay. Any members?
I mean, I think this is a really good idea. The there's some questions that I have. I feel like, many of the gas leaf blowers in Shorewood are coming from contractors and not, as many residents, but I might be totally off. But every time I see gas powered leaf blowers are there contractors that are in the neighborhood kind of doing everybody's yard. And I'm also wondering if there's anything you've done to reach out to any of these companies and kind of seeing if you could reel a company in to work with them on a program like this where you could get coupons from them, or there's something you could do with an actual company.
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think this initial rebate program is going to be the launching pad and kind of like dipping our toe in and see how it goes and how popular it is. And making sure it's public with an educational component that the Conservation Committee will help deliver. And then we can look into something like that as kind of a next step. Alan and I also discussed the fact that maybe residents don't actually have as many gas-powered leaf blowers as we think. And if that's the case, we could always move on to lawnmowers, which is something we know lots of people have gas-powered lawnmowers at this point. So we can expand it that way.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you, Trustee McGovern.
Yeah. Well, first, I just want to thank Alan and Aaron and the rest of the Conservation Committee for showing the leadership on this issue. It's just great to have someone from the community get the ball rolling on this. It's something I've been interested in for a long time because these leaf blowers just have an incredible amount of air pollution and noise as well. So this is something that could be a real benefit to the community. And if it's coming with funding from the foundation, that's even better. We see this all the time. Everyone's got great ideas for things, and it's always a question of how do you pay for it. So I just think it's great that you've taken this on and brought this to the board, and I'm completely in favor of it. I think it's great. Hope we can get to other things like lawnmowers as well. And I think this would be a great pilot project.
So question for both of you, where are you? So I think we're all on board with the pilot program. We're all on board with
administration.
Being a good idea. Where are you two on the administration?
I'm really, we have so many big projects in the village. I would hate to put this on staff for one more project that they'd have to be conscious of. So, but at the same time, I would defer to staff and kind of get the temperature read with Rebecca and to see if there's anybody in the village that can actually, can do this. Otherwise, I'd be open to other ideas.
Trustee McGovern?
Yeah, I mean, I understand it's, you don't want to overburden staff. We have a small staff that's busy with a lot of other priorities. So I just think we should find a way to get this done. I think it's going to be relatively small program. I think there's not going to be a huge amount of people doing this. I just think we should find a way to get this done.
Rebecca, did I read correctly that staff recommended not doing this with staff administration?
Correct. So, and also because of the audit guidance and what we had implemented with every other streamlining, based upon that comprehensive review that was conducted before. So that's essentially what brings me here. It's not necessarily my opinion, but I am not going to go against something that we did that actually did clean up a number of various impacts. So if we were not going to follow that guidance, the board would need to direct me to do that just so I could move on and not be worried about being in conflict with that audit guidance. That being said, we don't have bandwidth within our staff to do this, so it would be the Conservation Committee. If the village board chose to not take that audit guidance and move forward, the Conservation Committee would still be responsible for reviewing the applications, making requests for disbursements, and the board would then just need to trust that when that committee at each meeting approved any reimbursement, that you were then releasing me from financial responsibility from that.
Okay.
Because that's essentially why they're asking us to, I'm presuming, to take that over. So not much would change from the perspective that your committee would be responsible for submitting the receipts, the required documentation, receiving the applications from the public, and then responding to public inquiry regarding the program itself. And then as your committee met and you had a majority vote to approve whatever reimbursements were present, then those would be submitted to the finance director and dispersed. But it would essentially not involve other administration from village staff.
Are there other committees that have an arrangement similar to that where
No,
they're responsible for handing out?
no, this used to happen with the ghost train, and that's actually one of the things that flagged it. They did not, from the auditor's perspective, they did not want us to be the repository of funds that were then administered.
Allocated by someone else.
Correct.
So with that information,
But I'm just want to be clear, like
Yeah.
I'm happy to do. Within my role, I don't want to be in conflict.
Does the Conservation Committee have the capacity to do this?
Well, I have a question for you. So this is coming from, you said the Shorewood Foundation had emailed asking the village to be the administrator like just recently?
Mhm.
Okay. Because originally we had Alan planned to be the administrator, but that is not their preference.
Correct. That
Okay.
is actually how we had this lined up. And Thursday, I want to say it was Thursday, Chris Anderson had received an email from them wanting, them to, I was intending to come here and say, great, we're going to log up this application. And then I had to pull back and then I was like, oh gosh, then we have to take a look at how this is going to occur. I think if Alan were continuing to be the administrator and this didn't get processed through the village, the way that the proposal was written as you submitted it,
Mhm.
I wouldn't even have to make a comment here.
Mhm.
I just want to make sure more than anything that we're just all on the same page. That's
again, I think this is a great idea. I'm all for it. I think that an appropriate step might be for the committee to go back to and see if they're handling
Mhm.
this as opposed to the village. So I would be interested in plans before we take any, because if the foundation comes back and absolutely no way, Alan can't do it, the committee can't do it to be the village, then that's a different conversation. And
Yeah.
if they come back and say, sure, that not our preference, but we can make it work, then that's a different.
Right.
I don't feel like I can vision with that getting fixed. That makes,
Mhm.
which in my
No,
head,
I think that's valid, is to inquire more deeply about if we can keep it out of the hands of the village, just to simplify things.
And, I don't know, I had no reason to believe that they had not already been in contact with you about that. When I got it, it was really last minute. And so we were like, whoa, this is a
Yeah.
curveball. This is not what we had.
Sorry.
Right, that's good. It's okay. I did get some questions from the foundation
Sure.
about how the financing mechanism could work, but I
Okay.
explained it how it was in the proposal. So
Okay,
this is new.
And it sounds like there is village oversight in the whole program.
no.
Not at all.
none,
No.
just the committee.
0% village oversight. Okay. Okay.
But I think it is really helpful for the program that they have to have the presence of the application on the website. Cause I think it's a, rather than to create a whole new infrastructure of it, which is why I kind of checked that out with Attorney Bayer before. And really on our website, what we would do is the applications would not come into us. We would point those applications once someone hit submit, and then they would go, I would recommend one or at least two of you in case there was, someone's out of town or something like that, that those applications get pushed directly to you. And then, that can be the repository, and we would have an ability to promote it through our communication channels and support the effort, because it does align with our values. So I just,
Mhm. Can we
I was
just-
trying to look for a solution.
Just so that you have the direction, or not direction, but our position,
Mhm.
we just go around the horn from the three of us. Is anyone interested in going against the audit direction and taking this in-house at the village? I'm not.
I'm not.
I'm willing to, I don't really see a big problem with it.
Okay, so just not a formal
Mhm.
vote, but just a temperature taking from the committee. We're not, at least two of us are not, the majority of us are not interested in taking this.
Mhm.
If that helps you at all, negate the
Yes.
foundation.
And I would not support it at board level.
Okay. So why don't we table this
Sure. But
or defer it for a different day? Until
Sure.
the committee comes back with
It can, just to
Yeah.
expedite things a little bit, should the Aaron and Alan go back and have a discussion with the foundation and they're in alignment with the proposal as you had originally submitted it, do I have this group's favor to advance that to the board? So that we could at least assist them then with the application and things online to promote the program, but not be the fiscal agent?
I'd still like to hit the can a little bit at committee level. If we could do that the same
That's fine.
night as the board was taking it up. So
Sure,
they don't have to
not-
come back on, 2 weeks later.
Okay,
But I'd still like to take a look at everything, sure that
okay,
it all lines up with what we're looking
sure,
responsibility wise,
great,
but just do it the same night.
perfect. So being kind,
Yes,
okay.
that sounds good.
Thank you.
Thank
Sorry,
you,
we didn't.
Mayor.
No, that's okay. This is all good information and I learned something new, so that's okay. We'll go back and we'll speak with.
Sorry you learned it here and not before.
Quite all right. I don't live far. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. That is our second agenda item. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We stand adjourned at 7:08. Apologies to Strategic Initiatives for being 8 minutes tardy.
Well, we're all here, so.
Wow, it's just us tonight, huh?
Right?
Holy smokes. I'm excited for little strategic initiatives.
Been a while. Been too
Okay.
long.
It's been a while. Okay, I'd like to call the meeting of the Strategic Initiatives Committee to order. All members are present. What time is it? 7:08. And we've got a couple extra members here. President McCaig, Trustee Stokebrand, Village Manager Ewald is here. We've got one item on the agenda. Would you like to present that one?
Sure. Last year, the Strategic Initiative Committee was requested to review alternative revenue sources, and one of them was to also look at potential alternative revenue sources from the vacant space that was previously leased to the North Shore Health Department on the lower level of Village Center. At this time, want to get some direction from the committee that we can take to the board that essentially would direct how we would evaluate use of that space. Some ideas, not all inclusive. The purpose of meeting with all of you is to entertain the discussion and see if there are any other options or things that the committee would like to explore. But one option could be to solicit proposals to lease the vacated space with or without a lease fee so that both public and private entities may submit proposals. Perhaps, the North Shore, or pardon me, the Shorewood Public Library, Elder Services Advisory Board, or the school district, just to name a few. Another option would be to direct me to work with a broker to lease that vacated space with a lease fee. A third would be to not require a lease fee and have the committee move forward and specify an alternative use for the space, or other alternatives that you may have. So I wanted to kind of hear from the group to make sure that if there's some other avenues that you'd want more information on before providing that direction, I could go out and obtain that information and come back. But wanted to get that direction and kind of start the process and making headway with this initiative.
Yep. Members committee?
Yeah,
questions or
so
comments?
I mean, have you got any, I've got just a couple questions, but has anybody, have you been approached by anybody that's interested in that space? Has there been dialogue in lease versus non-leasing that space? Where does that stand right now?
There is, the Elder Services Advisory Board has requested to pursue a Benjamin Center in not this space. They weren't specific on a space. They've talked about it in various areas in the lower level of Village Center, but there is interest of them to establish a Benjamin Center space in the lower level. While we have a lot of competing use for lower level space. So the library, of course, is interested in how that space can be used by the public. Whether it stays the same, whether there's other alternatives that, they can utilize there, but we haven't they haven't gone to explore that,
Hmm.
quite frankly, because we haven't had a defined vision of how we wanted to proceed.
Sure. I, you know, personally, I really like that space for the public. I think, you know, one hat is create that space, open it up more for public activities. I think there's so many groups like the Elder Services Committee that could, or the Senior Resource Center that could really benefit from having more space. You know, we have the bid that could be a potential space for the bid. There's a lot of groups in Shorewood that are always looking for space, and I think that could be ideal. But at the same time, you know, as we move forward on Shorewood, we're always looking for revenue generating opportunities, and you know, that space could be a fantastic space for, you know, for a new business. At the same time, I really like the idea of finding a space to try a pop-up sort of business concept to see, you know, if things could work on short-term basis. If somebody wants to get their feet off the ground and they get a space for X amount of months to try to get their businesses going. I really like, you know, a concept like that to potentially be implemented. Is there opportunity for the space to be broken up, or is it sort of the space is what it is?
The space is what it is right now. There are no funds allocated to renovate the space or pursue a different configuration. But that is something that, you know, if the village explored leasing the space or allowing another group to utilize that, how they would need to also identify how any modification to the space would be funded.
What would be the cost if we just opened it up for a community use? Would that cost come back then to the village? Would we be paying essentially for that lease? How does that work with that building? Maybe you know from being on the library board, but
Well, we own the building,
we own the building.
property,
right?
yeah.
So we would need,
You could just open it up and it could be a community space, and you know, we wouldn't
Correct.
necessarily be taking a big hit on that.
correct, it would be funded by the operational general fund budget.
Which the cost,
When I say funding, that would be the lights, you know, turning the lights on.
What did we get from the?
1,200,
Just over
15,000?
15,000.
15,000. That's good. That's a nice little chunk of change.
I mean, I get my immediate thought was, and I appreciate Jenny Volpus's email about some access issues, some access concerns to the space. My initial idea would be to basically have like a membership to that space, right? Like if you were a community group or an individual or whatever, you could pay $100 and use that space up to 4 times a month. But that you'd have to sign up through like a Sign Up Genius or something, like the way we volunteer for Little League or whatever.
Mhm.
You would sign up through a Sign Up Genius and first come, first serve, right? But that your opportunity to even sign up, the prerequisite would be that you were a member of the community center or that space, whatever we want to call it. Because otherwise, what I could see is if there's no fee, I sign up for it. I sign up for 20 weekends or 20 days out of the year. I use 5 of them. Everyone else is excluded, and there's no hit to me because I didn't have to pay for any of it, right? Or if you paid $100 to join the club, and every time you wanted to use the room, it was $15. Just something to not only, and I'm not saying everyone would abuse it, but I think that there would be opportunities for folks to come in and just be like, I want to take it for 2 weeks. And I signed up first, so I get it whether I use it or not. So I think there's a way to do this. I think there's a way to keep it relatively inexpensive, but to have it available to many members of the community, different groups, anyone who would want to get in there. But I think we have to make some money for operations, for maintenance and what have you. But I would be interested in looking at how to do that. That was literally a membership with, a fee was just what popped in my head first, but I'm sure that there are better ideas.
And this is probably not the time or place to talk about specific ideas, but we're always looking for a potential place for a winter market, farmers market. There's a lot of revenue generating opportunities there. It's one day a week. Is that space conducive to something like that? It's tiny.
I just think we we need to find out there's some piece in code or the library village center, you're not allowed to make a profit.
So that, great point, Kathy.
So we'd have
Oh,
to,
Um,
something would
so
have to change.
Yeah.
the library, well, that space right now is not under, right now, that one meeting room, because I've asked for it to be available for people to reserve in this interim time period. The village would need to make a decision as to whether you wanted the library to administer that meeting room under the village's or under the library board's policy. So the library board has a policy, to your point, trustee Starkbrand, that, does not allow people to reserve any of our spaces within Village Center.
Like Girl Scouts can't sell cookies.
Correct.
So
So,
that's a crying shame.
well, but
The women's club couldn't have their,
I'm more interested in Thin Mints, but you do your thing.
Yeah.
so to trustee Kudo's point, we have leased this before. Just because it is there doesn't mean that we automatically turn it over to the library to administer under their space and policy. You own the building, you own the space. You're the one who initially asked for the library board to manage, to reserve and have that programming, monitor how they decided to administer that programming space of the larger room. So you could go in either direction. I just don't know what the pleasure, it's the first time we really have ever had to encounter this before. And so,
Did you say 15,000 annually?
Mhm.
Okay, that makes more sense. Sorry, I thought it was 15,000 monthly basis, and I was
oh
like,
no,
"That's
but that would be
paying
wonderful.
for that space."
Downtown square footage.
Yeah, no, sorry, I don't think, like, when I think of leasing, I'm not thinking annual, but yeah, that makes a lot more sense. Okay.
So I guess my thought on this is, the committee was asked by the board to look at potential revenue ideas. And I figure one way to do that is with an RFP. On the other hand, this is a public building, and I kind of like the idea of just keeping it for the use by the library or some other public entity in Shorewood, like the Senior Resource Center or something like that. So just personally, I'm kind of leaning towards we should just do an RFP that opens it up to either for-profit, something that would generate revenue, or something that would just be within the village's public service mandate, and just see what's out there, since we've been tasked with finding whether there's more revenue, and maybe there isn't, or on the other hand, maybe someone's got an idea for using that office space or putting in a coffee shop, or who knows. So I figured kind of the way to sort of evaluate all the different competing uses is just to open it up to the public and see what, if any, interest there is out there.
That's committee.
Yep.
I think one of the things to consider here is, first of all, I would like to go through it, and I'm just wondering if anybody else, who would have the key? Who would I need to contact?
I can take you through it.
Yeah, I've been there. It's just like a big kind of office space type
Yeah.
looking. There used to be,
Is there like a conference room separate?
it
Yes.
sort of looks like
So it's like
two
two
big
rooms.
conference rooms. Yeah, that had medical.
Is it
equipment in
bigger
there.
than the Spectre meeting room?
If you'd like to,
I'll-
before the next meeting, we could
Yeah.
Okay.
go through it together.
Sure.
Or sometime, in between then. I can, just get the group together and we can just go. It won't take long.
I'm just like thinking, so right now, Elderly Services Advisory Board, where do they meet?
They currently meet up here in our committee room.
Historical Society
They typically meet downstairs in the building here.
and Foundation?
Foundation has met in our committee room. I don't know if that's the current location. I want to say they were here a couple months ago.
So
But
I'm just thinking of the groups that would move through there. Bid, where does the bid
The
meet?
bid travels around from business to business.
Someone had mentioned to me that perhaps if there are a lot of elderly service, senior resource center activities in the large room. And I think one of the biggest problems we have is the large room cannot be divided. The divider is broken. And that's one of our problems is we only have that large room because we can't divide it up. Am I correct, Rebecca, that?
I don't know if the divider is broken or not. I would need to double check on that, but they don't care to use it because it's extremely cumbersome and challenging for one person to move out and put in at the same time.
So
That's
I-
how it's been for years.
Yeah, so I think that's one of the problems. And another thing to think about is if the library is facing renovation, it would be short-sighted, I think, to not have that space available if they have to move to a different location. And finally, if the Senior Resource Center has a lot of activities in the large room and could use a smaller room, that large space may become more available because they would have their Benjamin room, whatever. So, I mean, it's kind of a lot of moving parts to a puzzle. I would be curious to see what a listing would look like. I mean, part of me thinks, well, maybe not a coffee shop, but I mean, if you've got senior citizens coming to the library, coming to the Senior Resource Center, a vendor who does, like, let's say hearing aids or something. I mean, where you've got people interested in. I just think it would be interesting to see what might be if we're doing research and
So
Where do
we're
we
going to have
end
a
up?
motion then, or should we, or do we need more discussion? Because it's getting to be 7:22.
I feel like this place is very similar in my mind to, and take the leap with me, what we need to figure out about the DPW spot. I don't know what I don't know space. I don't know if someone would be interested in doing something there. I don't know what it would cost, if we'd have to change anything. I don't know what community groups, aside from the Shorewood Women's group that was emailed to us today, would want to do something there. But I also don't want to spend a ton of staff time running through a bunch of hoops, trying to figure out what to do with a space that is important, but it's not going to bring in like $100,000 a year plus. This is a relatively small space, a relatively small opportunity for revenue. So I don't want to put a bunch of work into it. So I'm one way or the other, whether it's an RFP, or if we open it up for community to just sign up through Sign Up Genius, or kind of fine with whatever.
I guess there's probably no harm in an RFP situation, and to see sort of what the temperature is on that space and who's interested and what they're, willing to bring into that space. We don't have to go with anybody, right? I mean, if we get that and we're not happy with any of the, the applicants or the folks that are interested in that space, then we can pivot and do something else. I'd like to explore, Eric's model. I think that sounds great. I would assume that's probably a little cumbersome to like manage, and like, did you pay what time, somebody's going to have to really work hard on like trying to activate that, especially. Yeah. So I think there's still a little work to be done there, but I'm interested in that. I'd love to see the community still keep that space and activate that space. I think there's a need for it, but I'd also be interested to see sort of like what the temperature is out there. So.
Okay. Well, would one of you like to make a motion then?
Go ahead.
Shoot.
Sorry, buddy.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Okay.
I got you.
Super specific yet remarkably vague motion.
Wow.
You wouldn't mind?
I move to recommend the village RFP. Let's see, RFP space for. I don't know. I don't know what I'm.
Okay, how about this? I move that the village request an RFP for that particular space. And that, we want to put a timeline on this and have the RFP back by mid-April.
I want to bring an RFP back to you because there's a number of questions that you'll probably need to flush out.
Great.
So I would aim to do that at the first meeting in April. Is that, well, yeah. No, I know no one likes to meet on that night. We could do that on the second meeting in April. I'm just not going to have time available. If I can, I will, but I don't have the time available to get it to you on the 17th.
Yeah.
And I also think that we have a lot of other items we need to pull through during committee time that night.
Yeah.
I would
think that's
request that
fine.
RFP be back in my motion by mid-April.
Okay. And then in just understanding that when I bring you an outline or a framework for the RFP, that there'll be decision points that you can provide direction on before then we, pull it together and provide it to the board.
And maybe we'll hear more from the public
Sure.
about what they,
Okay.
or maybe we can put that in the managers, like we're trying to figure out what to do with the space
Um,
or not. It
maybe
might be a terrible
our
idea.
group kind of identify some.
Okay.
I just want to make sure that we're on the same page.
That's my motion.
So I have
Second.
recommend the village manager draft an RFP for the space for the committee's consideration.
That
Yeah.
sounds
That
great. Great
April?
job,
Yeah.
trustee Kudo.
Thank you.
Right.
I'll second that.
Okay.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Move to adjourn.
Yeah. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
So moved. Wait, yes.
Second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right. Motion, this committee is adjourned
Wow.
at 7:28, right?
Evidently, the three of us can operate for
it was a
88 minutes.
It was a kudo motion,
First,
Ursing
second.
second.
Yep, yep.
Matt just wanted to jump in there with another second because he wanted to be part of the group.
Actually, Brenda and
Okay, we need an
and,
adjourn.
Lynn aren't here tonight.
Oh,
So it's just. All right, I'd like to call the meeting of the village board to order at 7:33. We have all trustees present except for trustee Lynn and trustee Arndorfer, who are excused. Has this meeting been publicly noticed?
The meeting has been properly noticed and posted according to law.
All right, thank you very much. Welcome, everyone. Glad you're here this evening, and thank you for your time, talent, and patience in advance while we conduct business. We have no special orders of business this evening, so we'll move on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second.
Motion by trustee Ursing, seconded by trustee McGovern. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of the consent agenda as presented, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll skip item 6. Also, item 7, public hearings. We have none this evening. Item 8, citizens to be heard. This item is for matters not on the agenda. Is there anyone here who would like to be heard this evening? If you're joining us via Zoom, you can raise your hand or come off mute. Oh, I think we have all staff. All right, seeing none, we will move on to item 9, which is new business. 9A, consider Oakland Meter Vault Engineering Services Agreement. This comes to us from, I'm trying to see my packet. Does this come to us from Public Works Committee?
Director Bushlick.
Or Director Bushlick? There is materials that are in our packet. I'm anticipating that everyone had the ability to prepare by reading it. Are there any technical questions for the director? Yes.
I'm just working on the math here. So we bonded for this design cost of 27.5.
That is correct. The bond issue, I believe, estimated at an engineering cost of $50,000.
So we're going to have extra. I guess I'm confused about why then this would be something's going to be with 2026.
So the engineering for the project will be completed in 2025. The construction is scheduled for 2026. So the construction management and observation portion of the contract, those costs will not be expended until 2026.
So we'll just hold them over. Okay. And I was trying to read where we think this new vault, how far in the process will it be before a decision is it looked like they were both on the south side of Edgewood.
Yep. So as part of the engineering process, I mean, internally, we've done some reviews. That intersection is incredibly heavy in non-village utilities. So there are really only two options to move it out of the intersection. One would be on the northeast corner, kind of under the bubbler bike pad area. The other potential option would be under the sidewalk area on, I'm sorry, that's the northwest corner. The other option would be under the sidewalk area of the northeast corner near Humboldt Park. I think from a fit standpoint, the northwest corner is better. However, that's going to require some very significant reconfiguration of the Milwaukee water system, which they would likely expect us to pay for. So I think we're going to try really hard to fit it in on the northeast corner to minimize the rerouting of any Milwaukee infrastructure.
And so this will be done the same year as Northrop.
Correct.
So Humboldt Park could have great big.
No, it would more, I think the goal would be to include it under the sidewalk. There's a fairly wide sidewalk on the west side of the park, excuse me. So we would probably look at putting it under the sidewalk and or the parking lane, not in the park proper.
Thank you.
Yes.
So I move to approve a professional services agreement with City Water for the Oakland Meter Vault Replacement Project in the amount of $59,000 and $59,260.
Second.
Motion by trustee Ursink, seconded by trustee Stokbrand. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 9B, consider quotes for test fit of the DPW site. So this comes to us from Community and Business Relations, and then applications or proposals were reviewed. No recommendation is coming to us this evening. It was going to be at the Community and Business Relations Committee tonight, but there was an oversight on the agenda setting. So
Should we defer back to the Community Business Relations Committee?
I'll open it up to and we're also missing 2 members, so.
I'm indifferent, frankly. I mean, I think,
I have a preference, so.
yeah, I mean, I think that
If
there were massive chasm between the costs of some of these different proposals. The two that came before us, which were
EUA and Rinka.
yeah, Rinka and EUA, I would feel fine with 5 of us
Okay.
taking care of this tonight.
Yeah. Okay.
If that's the will, if there's no motion to defer, then I will take a motion or discussion.
I mean, I would, let's see here. So I would recommend the EUA proposal for test fit site, the public works site in the amount of $19,000.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion by trustee Ursink, seconded by trustee McGovern. Discussion?
Your thoughts behind EUA?
Yeah, I just, I know that the Shore Connection here, there's, some folks at EUA that, really have the community sort of in mind and are really community focused and have done great work in the community in the past and have done great work in general. And I think, we're in good hands here with both. But from what I've seen, the professional, from a professional perspective, EUA is just, EUA is on a different level, and I'm just, really thrilled that they're interested in this project. And I think we would just get such, a fantastic result from them. So my vote would be EUA.
I mean, I could have gone either way, but I like their proposal. I like the projects they've worked on before. So I didn't really have a strong opinion either way, but I think I did sort of come down on the side of
Can I ask that, so Bart was staff on this, Bart, you all, would it be possible for the planning director to give his thoughts on the two proposals and which one? Since he has more experience
Mhm.
than this.
Yeah, so as trustee Kudo mentioned, I reviewed the proposals and cited in them. I thought both of these two firms were highly qualified in being able to provide us, what we're asking for. I was on the side of, thinking that we're probably needing and asking for less than what is perhaps being sold or delivered to us. So with that perspective, I was fine with going with the cheaper option. Understand that both of the, proposals were, qualifying. And so at the time within the discussion, I did say that I would be fine with going with the cheaper proposal, which was provided by Rinka. I had zero issues with EUA's proposal. Once again, both highly qualified firms within a legitimate price range. But I was just of the perspective that in my mind, this actually is more of a early, simpler project than it is going to be of a bigger, community gathering, rendering kind of discussion. And so I just kind of want to keep things simple. And so I had shared that in the meeting. So if trustee Kudo wanted me to share that, I'm happy to provide that to the rest of the group as well.
Mhm.
That's what I was
I
looking
have-
for.
Oh, did you want to share your input?
Yeah, I think that for what we need here, we have an opportunity to save $7,000 because we're looking for a big picture, nothing specific. And I think if I'm looking at spending more for more expertise, something more technical, something more specialized, I want to save that money and use it later. So I'll be voting no.
Mhm. I would go with, definitely with trustee Stokebrand on that this is an opportunity, where there is a significant, because we're in this place where it really does matter. So there are times when I'll go for the higher bid because it's something that I think we need. In this case, I don't. And I'm also going to say that the projects that Rinka included in their proposal, I think are very relevant, and I'm familiar with a lot of them because of the ICC meetings and going to all these communities in the Milwaukee County. And that really excites me that they have that level of experience of really working to transform housing opportunities in Milwaukee County municipalities. So I realize I have that vantage point that that the rest of you may not. So I'm excited to move forward with this. I would like to go with the lower cost one, and also I'm more excited about the proposal. But I want this to move forward. Yes, trustee
Yeah.
Kudo.
So I was fortunate enough to be in the interviews with both groups. Was fortunate enough to be able to ask questions, appreciate staff involving me. I will say I like both of them. Obviously, both of them are very qualified. I thought that the Rinka proposals were only focused on housing and that there wasn't really anything else there other than the development of more housing. So there didn't seem to be much of a connection to other opportunities within the community. Now, recognizing that these are just the proposals that they put in their proposal, or their projects that they put in their proposal. But I left the meeting feeling more comfortable with EUA. And what I thought that they would, I had the impression that they had more of a holistic approach to what could go in that space than Rinka, which I felt was more sort of like, we're going to take this, we're going to give you some housing proposals. It could be whatever, and then we're sort of going to move on to the next project. So for that reason, I'll be supporting the motion because I just think it's better, the more holistic approach that I'm looking for in that space.
Thank you.
And I ask
That's helpful.
permission to close the window.
Oh, you're cold?
I've never been cold, but it's getting colder.
Okay, fair. All right, well, with that, is there anything you want to add, village manager? Okay, well, why don't we take a vote? All those in favor of the motion, repeat the motion, please.
It was to approve the proposal from EUA for the amount of $19,000.
Okay, so all those in favor of the motion as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
All right, motion carries 4-1. Great. Moving on to 9C, consider approval of the Shorewood Pedestrian and Bicycle Master Plan. This comes to us with a recommendation to approve from the Open Spaces Committee. And in advance, I just want to say that I know that this group has been working on this, spent a lot of time giving multiple rounds of feedback, and Bart did an excellent job incorporating those comments, really seeking to understand and keep the focus of the plan. And so that's what's coming to us with a recommendation. At this time, I would open it up for a motion. Unless there's a request for some type of presentation.
And make a motion that we approve the bike and pedestrian safety plan as presented and recommended by the committee.
I'll second.
Motion by trustee Stokebrand, seconded by trustee Kudo. Any discussion?
Just want to say thank you for putting all your effort and energy into this project. It's a fantastic step forward.
I would just say something similar. I know it took a long time to put together, so I really appreciate it, and the committee as well. And you know, it's a great plan. It's going to be a lot of work for us to implement it, and I hope we can make all these really good recommendations a priority and get to work on all these things.
Thank you. Trustee Stokebrand?
One more acknowledgement of the incredible civic engagement here. I am so grateful. It just shows you how important of an issue this is in this community. And the time spent, the diligence, the commitment, it was remarkable to me. And I tried to think about it in terms of updating the commercial zoning code. And this was just different. It was just, well, we didn't have a consultant. So it was Bart, it was staff, and these committee members working organically. And I think that, I know there are people who would say that we should have outsourced it. But I think that we have made a significant step forward with what we've done. And I'm grateful to staff and the.
Thank you. All right, all those in favor say aye. Oh, Mr. Pendleton.
Thank you, President McKay. Sandy Pendleton, 3529 North Frederick Avenue. Being a highly bikeable and walkable community with safe streets is Shorewood's competitive, long-term sustainable advantage. It's why educated, creative, smart people will choose to live in Shorewood rather than other places, provided we maintain our lead in being a walkable and bikeable community compared to other communities. This started as a revision project. It very quickly became a rewrite project. It was a time-intensive project and on occasion a contentious process. I want to credit Bart Griepentrag for doing outstanding work. He put in a tremendous amount of time into this and work, and we're lucky to have his skills working for us. So I thank Bart and Leanne and Heather and Rebecca and Ann as well for their attention to this and their assistance with this project. This new master plan, along with the Complete Streets policy, which you'll take up, I think, later this month, creates solid principles, which over the next 10 years can lead to better, safer streets and the multiple benefits that can flow to us and our community with such streets. But the plan is not a self-executing plan. It will require all of us working together going forward with lots of people in the community to actually implement the recommendations in the plan. I really look forward to working with you all and future board members on this project over the next 10 years. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, all those, anyone else who would like to be heard on this matter? All right, hearing none, all those in favor of the plan as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 5-0. That concludes new business for this evening. Moving on to report of village officials, village president reports. I attended the Youth Rising Up Black History Month celebration program at the high school last Thursday. And they received a proclamation for Black History Month from Governor Evers that we had requested, and Principal Kenny read it to them during the daytime performance and said it was very, very powerful and the students appreciated it. So I was glad we were able to facilitate that. I don't think I have any other reports at this time. How about trustees? It's kind of a quiet time of year.
The ice rink has come to an end at Lake Bluff. A fantastic year. A lot more skating on it this year than in years past. Short Farmers Market, we had almost 150 applications for vendors, and we've decided to go with upwards of 65 new vendors. So we might stretch from one barricade to the other in Esterbrook Park this year. So well, we've invited more farmers. I know that's been a big contentious thing in the community, but we'll have more farmers, food trucks. It's just going to be a really fantastic time this summer. So that's all I got.
Looking forward to it. Can't wait. Yes, Trustee Stokebrand.
The Lake Drive project has started. It's loud, it's dirty. Don't go there. Just be very careful because traffic pattern. I am kind of wondering if we need a speed limit. I mean, you'd be amazed.
Talking to your, yeah. Are you reporting or are you announcing?
Complaining?
Okay. That's I would definitely submit something in writing and we can consider it. Okay. Anyone else? Anyone dare? Okay. Village manager?
Included in your packet is an update of the budget communication plan. I will know that there are 3 items related to the streetlight charge that were not moved correctly to follow the meeting on the 17th. But again, a work in progress, so we'll make those adjustments. The school district did get back to me today, and they are unable to have me attend the meeting in March, but offered for me to attend in April. So I think that timing will all work out great. So I'm going to start to put together just a brief, framework for presentation purposes as we continue work with the village attorney and his advisement on the streetlight charge. More to come.
Okay. Yeah. If you have any questions, please submit them in writing to the village manager. And with that, we conclude, there are no future items of consideration for this evening. So I would take a motion to adjourn.
I would like to move to adjourn.
Second.
All right, motion by trustee Kudo, seconded by trustee Ursing. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? We are adjourned at 7:55 PM. See you in 2 weeks.